Hello there. Uh, Welcome to the Gamers Guild first live stream, which is fun and exciting and all that kind of stuff. With that today, I've got the sprue of new Avengers from Atomic Mass Games from the new core box for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I'm excited to start putting them together basically. I know tomorrow I'm planning on just kind of having like a tier list of who was the most difficult. Do we have any other like Baron Zemo elbow pad kind of difficulty level, or hopefully not even Shuri level difficulty models to build out of the new stuff? But yeah. So that said, I'm probably going to start with my favorite Avenger, which is Iron Man, who also has a leadership now, so that's kind of fun and cool. But the sprue as a whole looks great. One of the things I'm probably most excited about is the alternate head options for Captain Marvel. So that'll be real cool too. I personally always try to do this over a mat or over something that is not the same color, and probably would be wise to also swap over into a carpet pattern that is not light gray like all of these sprues I build with. Hey, what's up, Fab? I am excited. Who is your I don't know, I guess the most exciting change with the updates, or character you're most excited for coming out of the new core box? Also, if you can, let me know if there's like some extreme background noise going on. They just started like pumping a neighbor's septic tank or something outside, and it sounds really loud to me, but I am not sure if it's actually getting picked up or not. So, let me know if you can. Cable is fantastic. One of my locals is rather annoyed with me, and I think justifiably so, because I have been basically playing uh, three new affiliations. Like, I got to try out the new updated X-Men, I tried out updated Asgardians, and I tried out updated X-Force. But all of the times that I did these things, I was really just playing Steve Avengers with the discount Steve. So the first time I played X-Men, it was Colossus. Good to know about the background noise. This mic is fantastic. But I played with Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Deadpool, and Steve, and it's like, oh yeah, it's Avengers. Why not? And then I did X Force, which was Deadpool, Wolverine, Cable, and Steve. And then I did Asgard, which was Heimdall, Thor, Loki, and then Steve and Sam. So I just can't quit that -1 discount to superpowers. It's too good. But yeah, Iron Man is long since been one of my favorite comic book characters ever since really the combination of Extremis, the kind of like one shot event, was fantastic and kind of got me turned on to Iron Man. And then Civil War was a fantastic point to show like Iron Man at a little bit of a at odds with a lot of the rest of the community, and then Marvel kind of made him out to be the villain superhero for a while. So excited to get a little bit more of a punchy Iron Man. Excited to see what he's capable of, and I very well may be painting this one up in the black and gold from Marvel Now's relaunch. I'm sure that one has an actual suit designation, I just don't know what it is. Alright, one more and we get down to the filing and bits and stuff. I will say I like the first core set a little bit better because all the models were on their own individual sprue instead of one massive one, which made it a little bit easier. These are still really nicely compartmentalized, like, hey, all of Bucky's stuff is right there, all of Steve's stuff is right there, all of Widow's stuff is right there. So, like, to that degree, that's really nice, but having them on the smaller sprues to start was really handy. Yeah, this camera's not doing any favors to the detail on the model, unfortunately. But that's okay. We're going to get a new camera for painting things later. Because after having all of my hobby tools packed away for moving and stuff like that, as you have to do, I got the real urge to just like, yeah, I really want to paint now. So hopefully with this new place and all that kind of stuff, be able to kind of do that as a form of connecting with you guys a little bit and talking MCP, but also as a way to get through my painting backlog, or pile of potential, as Dallas much more affectionately calls it. So. Just kind of reclaim that line. So, Fab, are you excited for the discount specifically, or I guess not the discount, the reroll and the like new Shield leadership for Iron Man, or just new Iron Man in general, popping up new places? The move went as well as a move could. We only had one piece of furniture damaged in the move, and it's like one of those particle board, similar to the, oh my goodness, the Calyx, I guess, similar to what I have, I gotta go that way, the square shelves from IKEA, except it was like the Target much cheaper brand, and so one of those just like straight up snapped. I even watched the guy as he was carrying it up the stairs and just carrying it by the wrong thing. So, but aside from that, everything has gone smoothly. It's just trying to remember what's in what boxes, unpacking everything, getting a couple of things done to the house that we kind of knew that we needed to do, but like haven't had time to yet because we haven't been in here too long and we've been trying to raise a kid and all the other life stuff. So, somebody who was not a big fan of Nick Fury, I am really excited for the new leadership because I love a lot of the characters in Shield. Because like Iron Man got me into the comics and all that kind of stuff, and then Agent Venom came along and stole my heart because Venom had always been kind of like my favorite Spider-Man villain. And now they're both in Shield, so I just get to like have an affiliation that actually is all my favorite characters, including a leader. As well as new Spider-Man, who is oddly Shield. Not that I won't complain about it. It's another place I can play Spider-Man. Gives me a much better reason to play Cleanup as it stands. So, I'm excited for new Shield. And giving Agent Venom some dice modification is going to be real cool too, because I've been having a lot of fun with him, both in Guardians and in a really silly double Venom Avengers list, where it's Steve, Venom, Agent Venom, and then whoever else I need to fill it out and make the Avengers affiliation, because it makes this really gross list at 20 threat on Scoundrels. where you just have four characters who completely ignore the big benefit of Scoundrels, which is giving cover. And so you just have all these guys that are just like, yeah, we're offensive and we like to kill things, and I get cover, but you don't, which is real not nice for my opponent most of the time. But yeah, there's too many cool new things that I want to try and play, especially now that I have my hands on the core set. I'm not sure what to try for next week. I know we've had somebody play like straight up Asgard. We've had somebody do Web Warriors. We've got Justin, who I think is going to rep the Defenders next week with Daredevil as the leader, which will also be cool. So, good stuff there. Let's see if this glue survived the move. So I'm one of those crazy people who doesn't like plastic glue, and I use the Lock Gel or Loctite Super Gel. Maybe it's just trauma from me being way too young and trying to glue models together, but the plastic glue I always use too much, and so then I would literally melt my models' faces, because that's kind of what the plastic glue does, is creates these really awesome super strong bonds, but in exchange for that it also has a chance to go horribly awry if you don't know what you're doing, which I did not. This one's also really nice because after it's done I can just go around with my fingers, clean up the edges, and if there are any really bad gaps, it usually kind of helps smooth those out once I put a primer coat on and stuff. But new Iron Man, he's probably not the model I'm most excited to try. I'm really excited to try the new Red Skull, because I like a lot of what his card is doing and stuff. But just based on the fact that Iron Man is one of my favorite heroes and has a cool new sculpt and all that other stuff, I'm very excited to get him on the table with Agent Venom and another Spider-Man. And I don't even know, probably Spider-Woman too. She's really good. Hey, what's up, Tim? Ooh, super glue. You live dangerously, sir. I will use the super glue thin whenever I'm temporarily attaching something to a base for painting purposes and stuff like that. But otherwise, I've always get it too frosty. The gel, I know I can stick on something, and if I leave it under a fan, whether it's a ceiling fan or another fan, it just doesn't frost up, and I have not had that same luck with super glues. What do you do? Do you have that problem? Do you just ignore it? Do you care? Yeah, no. MCP is great because it appeals so easily to all levels of the game, and by that I mean, and something I really like to frame the game in, is there are 4 levels of play, and this probably applies to several of the games out there. But there's kind of a standard of play, which is narrative, where people are literally just playing the game to create a narrative. They may not even be playing the Crisis or one of the narrative missions that AMG has made for us. They just go in there, play for fun, and it's awesome. And then there's people who are like, hey, these are my favorite heroes and villains, and I want to smash them together in a team and have at it. And you can do that, and you can have a lot of fun with the game, especially as long as there's communication between the parties about what kind of game you want to have. So that is also really cool and fun. And then you got the people who just really love finding the cool synergies and finding things that not necessarily break the game, but are really cool and just kind of enjoyable. I know that's how I am with just kind of in general, but Shadowlands Daredevil, it did kind of have its time in the sun, and then Malekith kind of stepped on it really hard. But I made a list, and I was just kind of like, oh, like, you know what's going to be really fun and cute and good is going to be Shadowlands Daredevil with a bunch of reroll characters, because he doesn't have a limitation of once per turn on the attack. And so you're just able to go out there and go pew-pew for days with him. And admittedly, it was better than I thought. I brought it to my locals probably a time too many, and wrecked some people with it. But we are still here, and we are still playing games, so it's not terrible. That's fair, Tim. Being able to not necessarily have to worry if there's not clear parts where things are going to get frosted up. I distinctly had this experience with Monpok when it had its 2.0 release. I bought it at Gen Con. I was super hyped to get into it because, like, Kaiju Monsters, the game, is really cool. But then when I started gluing things to their bases, and all of their bases are completely clear, and I wasn't about to, like, decorate them or anything like that. It got frosty on those feet, unfortunately. Alright, well, that is Iron Man. For those in the chat, is there anybody who you guys want to see assembled next? Fan favorites? Anything like that? Because I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do the Blasty off-taking with Iron Man. It's kind of a thin connection point, so it might be something worth pinning as well. Bring it down so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is a itty-bitty little connection point. So it might be better to build up a little bit of rubble down there, for me personally. I don't know. I'm also learning I might need a better light configuration, because this one just kind of blurs it out. Granted, that could also be camera, so time will tell. Upgrades will be made. If you guys don't have a next one, I'm absolutely building Bucky next, because he looks real cool and fun. And also has alternate head option, which is always fun. I think I'm going to go with the Winter Soldier movie mask, because it looks real cool. And something to differentiate him a little bit more from his first iteration that came with Vision all those years ago, and it actually was all those years ago, which is crazy to say. But it's been a lot of fun years. I actually I downloaded a new app at the beginning of this year on the recommendation of Nathan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Biangle, I think. Which probably is not it, so I apologize. But that keeps track of all the games that you've played, like what the different games are, and how many times you've played it. Like, you can do additional stuff like, oh, what's your high score in this game, and stuff like that. And so I've actually been keeping track of how many games of Marvel Crisis Protocol I have played this year. And so I'm very excited for the new year to kick off and me to actually be like, oh, I played like a solid 70-something in games of MCP this year. Which will be really cool to kind of see and stuff. Ah, the sprue is too big. You know what? We're just gonna do mean things to the sprue real quick. Hey, look, that's a Bucky sprue. A much more simplified way to cut them out. So I have to say, this is probably the closest to an actual gun they've developed. I guess that's not true. Sin has an actual gun. Mystique has pretty close to an actual gun with a little silencer on it. But AMG are they shy away from the assault rifles, and I'm sure that's a licensing thing and all that kind of stuff. Well, for those who are still here, what have you been playing recently? What of the new updated cards? Are you sticking with classics that you just love and are tried and true? What have you guys been playing with? Because I've just been playing the 5 different flavors of Steve Avengers, basically. That's nice. The ribbing on Winter Soldier's arm this time around. Again, probably hard to tell on the camera, but it's quite a bit more defined. The last one did not have really deep layers for the arm. This one has something more akin to what we've seen on Spider-Man's webbing, which is also quite nice. Smooth that down, less so because it needs to look pretty, more so because I want it to fit real smoothly into the arm socket. I thought that was a word, and it's letters, because I was holding it upside down. Oh, Hydra Box. Makes sense. It's kind of fun to see a tactic card devoted to Bucky's time with Hydra slash the Cabal, since he's already got the team up card with Steve and or Sam, I guess. It's kind of fun. And probably one of my favorite things they did with the new core set is tactic cards that work for both the new ones and all of the old members too, because there is a lot of love there. Probably one of my favorite things is Iron Man getting the charge up card. I don't know if it's playable and all that kind of stuff, but man, I'm gonna absolutely love having Thor, Carol pour power into Iron Man for a fun little free attack, actually. No, Marvel Crisis Protocol has never been, and hopefully never will be, Malifaux levels of frustration. Like, Shuri was not great. We can all admit, I think, that the Panther Gauntlets was a step too far. There are some other things that have been frustrating, sure, but nothing quite compares to what Malifaux puts people through. Alright, that seems good here. And back to assembly. Go. Coming along nicely. So, out of curiosity, what do you guys typically do when you're building models and stuff? Do you have a show on in the background? Do you listen to a podcast, a book? Fill in the blank, because there's just so many options of what you can do these days. Because personally, I typically have been doing the whole Audible audiobook thing and have been rather enjoying it. I'm actually in a weird spot where, like, I'm listening to some stuff, but it's not stuff that, like, I love. But at the same time, I've gotten so used to listening to something that I needed something to listen to. Because I'm currently listening to, what is it? The Iron Druid Chronicles, which are fun, but after also just coming off of, I should have dry fitted first. How do you connect? There we go. It's a very looking to the side kind of Bucky. Anyway, I was craving something similar to Percy Jackson esque, that deals with like the mythos of the gods and all that kind of stuff, but at something with a little bit more adult themes and interactions and stuff, not the kind of typical teenage coming of age story stuff. And the Iron Druid Chronicles have been fun, but it feels very light at the same time, which is an interesting combination, despite also being more adult in its theming and whatnot. Yeah, I like that Hydra box. And this could just be a me thing. I am not a huge fan when we have these kind of like random bases that just don't make sense on the side of a street. I know some people who like do wonderful jobs going out of their way to make like a building rooftop for Moon Knight fit on the side of a street, or the what is it? I guess blades, zombie hands coming out of the ground and stuff. I get the appeal, and then there's some crazy people out there that do really cool things. Like Matt Sanders opened up his one of his 35mm bases, the one with the grates. Let's see, I got a new pile of these. This one, he made it open up, and so it looks like the zombie hands are coming out of that, reaching through the grates, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But otherwise, I typically, when there's like a raised foot or something with something on the street that doesn't necessarily make sense to be there, I usually fill in with some generic rubble and stuff that kind of helps fill that void. And so I probably will not be fully assembling Black Widow today for that very reason. Because while it's very cool that we have a lot of interaction with the new Ultron grunts, because they look really nice, having some on the terrain is kind of fun and cool, especially thematic to Ultron, since the way he spawns his grunts is by terrain getting exploded. But it also, like, it just kind of takes me out of it a little bit, where if I'm playing this Black Widow and Ultron's not to be found anywhere, well, why is she destroying a Ultron drone? Very similar to Black Swan and her Baker drone. But that is Winter Soldier. I might wait on the box just to see if there's any fun things that can be done with elevation here instead, because I like the box. I just think doing something like that's going to be too high. So I think I'll probably have the box glued down first, since that's a kind of a shallow connection point, and go from there. What's up, probably other Tim? Yes, AMG got me that sweet, sweet hookup, and so I'm getting to play with some new toys. It's fun and stuff. Yeah, new Winter Soldier. Old Winter Soldier sculpt was rough. It was real, real rough. So it makes me very happy, one, to see Bucky get a much cooler sculpt that holds up and all that kind of stuff. Two, I love that there are alternate head possibilities, so you can have kind of the traditional Bucky mask over the eyes, and we also have the more Winter Soldier movie-esque style, which looks really cool. But yeah, real excited to get some of these new guys on the table. Any votes for who's next? We've got Iron Man done, and we've got Bucky done now with his little Hydra box. If there aren't any takers, it's totally going to be Steve next because he's just the next one on the sprue, and it's a little bit easier to cut out the frame. Yeah, let me see if I can find the other head. Again, this camera is not doing anything quite the justice that I want. Maybe my preview is not as good as what you guys are seeing, though. But it's a little bit more of the just classic Bucky eyes, but the mask just looks great. I saw a cap. I'll take a cap. Cap it is. I will say I am both excited and intimidated and a bunch of other verbiage to once again get to try and paint a non-metallic cap shield. Because one of my favorite things about Marvel Crisis Protocol, kind of in general, is the amount of similarities between some of the models, and so it's very easy, even without repainting the exact same model, to kind of see some of your progress on the painting journey that you go on after painting the same game for multiple years. And so having my original cap with my Sam cap, it's just really cool to see some of the improvements and things like that, where it's a little bit of a challenge to yourself, and it's cool to see the upgrades. Hold on, I've actually got them right next to me. So here are my two boys, and the first good old Steve was just me thinking, okay, I'll make a true metallic by putting contrast over silver, and it worked. It's there, and it doesn't look terrible. But then after a couple years of painting and all that kind of stuff, the ability to do the non-metallic metal felt really good, both as an accomplishment to self, as well as just kind of a generic overall improvement that's easily able to be shown. So, excited to try it yet again. And the shield looks to be pretty much the exact same. No surprises. What up, Matt? Alright. Getting back into it. So I'll ask your guys' opinion, because I don't keep my worthy entry stuff secret, because I'm not going to be winning anything except maybe a medal. That's the goal. I want to get myself a bronze medal. But I would love to figure out how to do a Ricochet Blast diorama. But I'm not sure which Captain America is best suited to try to mod into that pose where Cap's going to be like taking up his shield and blocking the blast. I think the first core set Iron Man is going to be just fine for holding out his arm and making the blast, so that part's solved. But I'm not sure if new Mighty Cap is better suited to the Ricochet Blast, or if it might be something that's better suited to Core Cap with some serious modding, or if at the end of the day it just comes down to even World War II Cap, because he's already kind of got the arm out in the right pose, but the rest of the running pose doesn't fit. So I don't know, maybe there's some torso swapping or something that I can do. Actually, a torso swap might work really well for that, because his upper body is mostly in the right thing. You would just need to take his right arm and make it holding the shield. And then you can swap it with... I don't want to call him Discount Steve because that feels like it's doing him a disservice. But doing it with this legs, because you've already kind of got a bracing pose. So that might be one worth looking at. Not that I need another box of Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch. Which was not the Human Torch we wanted. But it's the Human Torch we got, so I can't complain too much. Alright. So, what has everybody been playing in the new Wild West of Marvel Crisis Protocol? We've got a whole new style of X-Men out there. Weapon X was given a serious buff with 3 of their members getting nicely tuned. Because Deadpool's been a lot of fun with Avengers, by the way. The leg day ability, getting that off turn 1 so he can go up and start stabbing people immediately is fantastic. New Wolverine. In case you guys didn't know, New Wolverine plus no matter the cost with Steve's Avengers means that you can do a spender turn 1 by doing the charge. So, in a very general outline. So he charges, no matters the cost, for 3 for his big attack, and then that places him within range 1. So then he's where he needs to be and just stabs them again. And so Wolverine turn 1 is getting a 7-die attack that possibly throws them, as well as Wilds count twice, followed up by a 5-die Pierce attack. Not something I've gotten to do because whenever my local has seen it, the whole one time that I've even threatened it, it was like, oh, yeah, you can have that extract. I'm not even going to try. So, very excited for the new possibilities with X-Force. I got my butt whooped by Hela the other day. Granted, by the end of it, she was also holding 3 hammers, which probably had something to do with it. But Asgard as a whole, I think, feels quite a bit better. Because Hela's really good now. Thor just makes more sense now. I understand that you can't give a super high health character the reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1 without changing his overall output. But giving him a little bit of extra health and the immunities to shock and to stun just make him feel a whole lot better as well, which is nice. Let's see. And of course there were also the nerfs, which were good. I feel like Black Cat got robbed. I think before we had all of the crisis changes and stuff like that, the steel being in action makes a lot of sense. But since the extracts have effectively gone down in value, right? Because they no longer... If there is only 1 extract, that extract's value is obscene. But when there's 4 extracts, 5, or even 6 extracts now, the value of the extracts is not as critical. So losing 1 can still be huge, but I don't know if she needed to be turned into an action. It seems rough. She is a lot more durable now, no crits and no modifying dice, so your opponent just kind of gets what they get in that initial roll, and she's just going to become a really cool stagger bot. But at the same time, I see you, AMG. You're doing all my favorite girls dirty. And by that, I mean basically just Enchantress, Black Cat, and Valkyrie. They all just shone a little bit too brightly, apparently. But Valkyrie's still in a really good spot. She needed the changes. Uh, and by the way, you can now play Valkyrie with rerolls and defenders. I've been playing her in Guardians of the Galaxy because, along specifically with Agent Venom, because they were a thing in the comics for the short time that Flash was just OG Agent Venom. I have no idea if they have kept that a thing, but I would be a little bit surprised if they did. But her with rerolls and Warrior of Legend is just absolutely gross. It is very easy to hit 5 or 6 successes on 5 dice. Alright, I think that's all the cleaning up for Steve. Oh, wait, no, that's a lie. Not that it's going to be super visible, because there's going to be a shield over this. But there was a little bit of shaving that needed there. I do think new Steve's going to be a lot of fun, though. He's going to be a lot of fun to paint up because the pose is amazing. He's going to be a lot of fun to play because his leadership, while not getting to discount superpowers, is going to be great both for the sake of consistency and just being able to punch through those bonus effects. So, like, Thor's not charging turn 1, but when he charges on turn 2, the chances of you getting that wild off are significantly improved for the throw, which is going to make him quite a bit more deadly, even if it's not because of the Alpha Strike. Then you have characters like Deadpool and Wolverine who just really want the wilds for their own purposes. So, like, Wolverine probably doesn't get that charge off until round 2, well, maybe round 3, depending on the power situation. But getting to make basically guarantee that you're going to hit a wild, which will then pierce as well as count as 2 successes and give your opponent bleed for 1 power, feels like a really good deal. So I'm excited to see what this Steve is going to be capable of. And I think I will go ahead and glue him to his Tactical Rock, because that is a very solid connection point. That doesn't make any sense. Standing on the rock it is. Oh man, his legs could also be really good for the pose if you kind of get him leaning into it for the ricochet blast pose. His lower body, not so much, unfortunately, or upper body, not so much. But those are some options to play with. I think that'll be a fun little scene to create. And I have to say, AMG's sculpting team is just continuing to knock it out of the park with some of these new models and stuff. Being able to put mold lines and stuff like that on the inside, making it so that seams can kind of just disappear. So like the seam between the arm and his shoulder, I guess. Like, yeah, those are going to be two different colors, and so there's like this really natural part right there where you're able to separate it. May need a little bit of green stuff to help fill in the lines of the blue suit, but nothing egregious. Probably even manage it with the liquid green stuff, which, if you guys have not used, is really cool. It does not work like green stuff at all. It does not fill in large sections. It is not moldable. But when you have just like this tiny little line that needs filling in, you just kind of paint it over it and then smooth away any excess, and it does a great job. And because that shield is going to be really nice and in the open to paint, let's see, do we need a subassembly? I don't think so. That goes there. So his upper arm is really nice and exposed there regardless. Other than a little bit of the shield, which I'm not going to give too much detail because it's all in shadow anyway, I am not super concerned about that. What I am super concerned about is getting this shield in correctly, because it feels a little, I think that's it. That took longer than it should have. Yep. Dry fitting is a really smart thing to do. Well, I've only built 3 models so far, but so far I can confidently confirm there are no Baron Zemo elbow pad level of small pieces to worry about and deal with. Awesome, and that is Mighty Steve. Avengers is shaping up pretty nicely. Alright, well, I guess we go on to the Captain Marvels, because there are 2 of them. Let's see if I could, over there, a bit there, snip that foot. Makes this much more manageable. Ah. Alright. New Captain Marvel. So, as a heads up, the only binary option is the helmeted option with the mohawk. But as I'm sure you guys have seen elsewhere, we do get a long hair Captain Marvel, which is really exciting because that's the one that I grew up with and knew and stuff. So, not even really grew up with, just the first encounter with then Miss Marvel and then Captain Marvel was that style. So we're just going to put sad hair over there. And really here, because it's not going to be quite as obvious which one is binary and which one is not, I'm going to go over to AMG's. Hey, thank you, David. It is a pleasure to make content and kind of get back to it off of after a hiatus. It's been a little bit with the move and NashCon before the move. because when we finally found a house, it was just like, oh, we're gonna scramble to get it done, and so I just posted up some of the NashCon battle reports, which were just games that were played. Real fun time, but not necessarily the ideal for content. But I'm gonna start cheating here to see exactly which Marvel bits go with which Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. Baron Zemo. Here we go. Alright, so this one is for normal Carol. And then we want BO1, which is this one. Very glad that AMG got the instructions up early, along with the affiliation list, which had some nice surprises in there. Spider-Man being S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of foreseen, thanks to the hint that they dropped in the article, but all in all, Winter Guard getting some nice buffs, Avengers getting 5 new members, Cabal getting 5 new members, S.H.I.E.L.D. getting 5 new members, Hydra getting 4 members, Criminal Syndicate got a little bit of love, Web Warriors obviously, Spider-Foes with a new leader. Very excited about all the stuff that this is going to offer for the game. Okay, a little bit of cleanup needed there. And then we need BO3. Oh, we need BO6. What is BO6? Oh, that's 8. That's not a 6. Just so that she is taking off with force. So I will say something that's kind of funny from Atomic Mass games that I think we have seen over the times is we get very intentional effects over a string of time, and it kind of seems like they learn a new tool, and so suddenly we see a lot of explosions. So like when X-Force first came out, we also got Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, I believe. And it was like, oh yeah, here's like Quicksilver's explosion. Oh, and here's Domino's explosion that she's popping off of. And around that same time, Amazing Spider-Man and his explosion. So it's kind of fun to see. And in the new core set here, we get a lot of these kind of like explodey, more jagged explosions, less rounded smoke bubbles and stuff like that. So like obviously Carol has not 1 but 2, and then Ultron on his has a real nice explosion point, and then Tony's got a little bit of one on his base structured point as well. So just kind of fun to see AMG go through waves of tactical rocks, explosions, and the variations of those different things. Alright, so I think that's everything we need for Carol. Nope, that's a lie. We're missing the arm and leg that I had not cut out yet. I wouldn't have minded a helmeted version for both. Would have been cool for Captain Marvel to just always have the mohawk look going on. At the same time, it's kind of cool to give something that helps differentiate. So it's like, hey, you have normal Captain Marvel, but whenever you see binary, it is always going to be the helmeted version, which helps give a little bit more definition to a transform model that otherwise is very samey. Other than, I guess, how should have radically different paint style differences and stuff for her skin and stuff. So that kind of helps give enough definition between the two. Whereas Captain Marvel, both of these poses are kind of her flying up at an angle and all that kind of stuff, which makes sense. It's good. It's dynamic. I love it. But also means that they're going to look very similar on the table. So by having one have the helmeted option always and not giving a helmeted option to the others, it helps makes the transform has all sorts of different lists that they bring out. But really early on, when it was the core set Hulk and MODOK, there were too many times where there was a Baron Zemo fighting a Baron Zemo, and sometimes I couldn't even tell which Baron Zemo was mine at a glance. So I took it upon myself to paint my rims of bases to just make it a little bit more obvious. Yeah, I definitely think that makes sense, David. Having a little bit of OSL going Super Saiyan or something like that would be really cool. Because like in the comic, there's she's also has the just like straight up alternate comic form, right, with binary. So she could just straight up be a full different color pattern. Would also be a really cool way to do it. We did get another binary form token though, so maybe there's that as well to be taken into account as another signifier that she is Super Saiyan mode and not to be trifled with. Which is 100% what I describe all of the Dibbo games that I used first Captain Marvel with. Yeah, Tim, you could do that, but that assumes that I'm going to be using that glow effect in the first place. This one does look pretty sweet, though. Straight out of a comic panel kind of explosion from the foot. Let's see. How is that? What's up like that? Yeah. That's kind of hard not to use. That's going to be a cool one. I'm also really impressed they were able to get her hair in one single mold. Because I know, and obviously they've gotten better with it with time and learning how to cut the models and stuff like that. But I know getting detailed hair on a model is not something that was easily done for them in the earlier iterations of characters and stuff. So cool to see that. Tim, you getting pumped for Warfare Weekend? Because I'm getting pumped for Warfare Weekend. Even if the only thing I see about it mostly is their giant dragon that the either Privateer Press or you guys are printing for the narrative event, which looks sweet. Also, I feel very sorry for whoever actually has to paint that dragon. But for those who don't know and are looking for a convention to try out, here at the beginning of November, we've got Warfare Weekend in St. Louis. And sure, you can come for the miniature games and all that kind of stuff, but let's be real. The real reason I'm going to Warfare Weekend again, one, hang out with good people, good friends. Will from House Party Protocol is going to be there, along with a couple other buddies. But also is because that city has fried ravioli, and it's delicious. I cannot recommend it enough. It's just little crunchy ravioli bits, and it's great. Get it with some marinara. Ooh, before that head sets, are we going to be able to slip? Oh, that arm slips in nicely. In case you make the mistake that I just did of gluing that in before this other piece, because that arm probably needs to be in there first with her big wavy hair. Thank you, AMG, for not punishing me. You know what? I think I might take that head off regardless. Let's see. No, there should be separation enough. One thing that I am really liking about all these unfortunately, David, I might be doing away with that green screen. The new setup just does not have an easy place to set it up, and so I'm looking for maybe a way to do like a portable one. I don't know. I'll figure out something because that intro has become slightly iconic to the channel and stuff, which is funny and kind of fun and all that kind of stuff. So I will find a way, even if it is me just like slinking out of my chair to continue something. So it's not going to be in the next few videos, at least, as I continue to unpack boxes and figure out where all the different equipment and lighting and stuff is. But we'll get something in there. If nothing else, I'll have to have a nod to it. Brisket filled toasted ravioli. Goodness gracious. I obviously you seem to enjoy it, so I can't hate on it too much, Tim. But that is quite the interesting combination. Because like even it's hard for me to really latch on to even just like a good meat field ravioli. Oh man, but now you're making me hungry. That sounds fantastic. One thing I am excited to try on a similar note. Right, David? That just sounds so good. Is something we have had for like the past 6 months, but we're like, oh, we're gonna move. There's no reason to set it up. Is Courtney and I finally invested in a air fryer, and we got like one of those really, I don't know if it's nice or not, but one of the combo ones that's a toaster oven with an air fryer as well. And so I've been doing some homemade mac and cheese the past few months that's gotten pretty good. And so I am going to be able to, out of that mac and cheese, make deep fried macaroni and cheese balls, which are totally a thing if you don't know about it. You can go to Cheesecake Factory specifically and get it. And I'm very excited to be able to replicate those for a lot less than what Cheesecake Factory charges. Alright, that is Captain Marvel. I might save the explodey effect just for binary form to kind of similar to what you guys were saying, where you added some additional effect slash OSL to it. Because like the little chunk of rock behind her foot there, very easy to just fill in with either like PVA glue and some rocks from outside kind of rubble, or just a little bit of green stuff on top of that little hole there would also do really nicely. And that gives her one more thing to like really stand out from plain form to going binary. Kind of like that idea now that I've said it out loud. It also means one less super cool effect that I have to paint, which I'm okay with. I think secretly one of my favorite things about Marvel Crisis Protocol and painting specifically is the lack of unnecessary details in the model. So like when it comes down to like things that you have to paint, everything on Sam's costume here makes sense. It looks good, it's clean. You really have 4 colors, a little bit of brown, which I didn't even do for the leather straps, but otherwise it is, aside from skin tones, blue, white, red, and then a little bit of silver here and there. I guess there was some leather on the belt. But it just keeps the color palette simple and it makes the painting process a lot more enjoyable for me. So the less just like random details that I have to get out another color for and stuff like that, well worth it. And thank you, David. I brought him out earlier because I was showing off painting progress and kind of like what that looks like for different people, and I all sorts of explodey effect on her base, so that'll be fun. And you know what? What I really need to do. Anybody remember by chance if the Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel team up card specifies if it's Carol Danvers or if it's just Captain Marvel? Because that would give me another reason to finish getting these two painted up for. So many layers to the explosion, which honestly is going to make it look really cool. Even has some little concrete bits in there, which is one of my favorite extra details that they add to bases, because you just paint it along with the rest of the base that they provide. And so it's not really adding a color to your palette, but it adds a lot more effect to it. Because it depends. Sometimes if we're just kind of chill and we're playing and having a good time with it kind of a thing, we'll absolutely just be like, oh, like if it's... Let me tear off the base real quick. Because it's a game of millimeters, and bumps happen all the time. And like if somebody is like just outside of range, I don't know what range template out here, they're absolutely, we're just like, hey, what's up, man? It's me, and it's you, and it's good times. We're just getting started on Super Saiyan. I guess to answer your question a little bit more thoroughly, because like I'm trying to think of like we were playing the narrative of the game. It's a lot easier to just be like, oh yeah, like this is in millimeter that it's out or something like that. Whereas if we're trying to focus on winning that particular game or something like that, then we're usually a little bit more strict about it, I think is the best way to kind of clarify, because it's either way, it's not an always yes or no kind of answer. Let's see, how is this going to work? This part goes up here. Oh man, this is... in that helmet. Make my own life just a little bit easier. And just like that, it's stuck together a little bit better. Where you can go and vote for your favorite fat bear before hibernation kicks in. I have voted for today at least. I missed out on some of the previous days, unfortunately. Effect piece right here is that it's solid. It is not wiggly. It is not Storm's lightning, which caused her to act a little bit like a bobblehead. Still holds up fine, just a little bobbleheadish. But that effect is solid as a rock, so have no problems just assembling and building all at once without having to worry about sub-assemblings. Which is one of the things I was going to talk about earlier. Out of all the stuff in the new core set, I think only one model needs to be done in sub-assemblies to make life easier. And that's going to be the Ultron drones, because there's 5 of those little suckers on one base, and if you were planning on doing anything more than a silver base coat with a hot, like, wash and dry brush kind of a thing, I would highly recommend assembling the 2 that are directly attached to the base, and then the 3 that are kind of like flying over them separately to make your life a whole lot easier. I myself have not done any of this yet, but from looking at it, oh no, David. I can see how that's just kind of an awkward spot of joining in recently and kind of getting into it, and then blam, new core set, which on its own I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but I could definitely see a little. I might be a little bit jaded if that was me, where it's the same characters in the new core set. Obviously, they're going to play different. You get a ton of new leadership options and all that kind of stuff, which is exciting and cool, but also absolutely could understand some frustration. Well, tightens everything up so that even the stuff that wasn't great before now feels a lot better, and the stuff that was just a little bit oppressive is tuned down, and makes for happy days all around, I think. Yeah, I think man, it's tough to pick a favorite model out of all these new ones, because they're all really good so far. I personally am not a huge fan of the Black Widow just because of the Ultron drone, but I was also one who shrugged off of Blade in his vampire hands and made him jump over a little barrier instead. So that's more of just personal preference. The sculpt itself is great and the pose is great. Interested to see what I can maybe manage with Iron Man. Alright, but that is Captain Marvel done. I'm planning on going for, say, another 6 minutes or so. So probably not quite enough to get another full member assembled or anything like that. But it's been quite a bit of fun. So we got our 2 Captain Marvels. This one will probably get a bit of green stuffing before I glue her in. We've got Steve Cap, who looks just fantastic with his tactical rock. It's just really a solid pose. Hopefully we get one with the shield in the air Avengers Assemble at some point too. Bucky's update to sculpt looks just downright fantastic. I'm not sure if I'm more excited to try him in Hydra or Avengers or Shield. A plethora of exciting places to get to test him out as well. And then one of my favorites, Mr. Tony Stark. Excited to get him on the table with the new Shield affiliation and all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in for my first live stream. It was fun. Hopefully not too crazy or anything like that, but good to start making content again after a long hiatus and all that. So thank you all for tuning in and watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.